Nichole Ramos presented 2 days before that. She presented she was a keynote on Thursday, and then we presented on a Saturday or morning. The people that you see in this picture are first the moderator, the woman with the black jacket with white trim and the pink dress. Her name is Iracema Coronado. She was the moderator that barked that I needed to stop talking and not interrupt, because I asked a clarifying question when I heard Nichole Ramos going down the path of, I'm not going to answer this question and pretend that there are higher numbers than the national average of people that receive asylum in this country, so that she can excuse the fact that she is bringing millions of people into this country on the excuse that they are seeking asylum, when she knows damn well that only about 3% of them will get it. So she skirts that question. She runs from it like her hair is on fire. If you ask her this question, she will try to avoid you like Usain Bolt. She runs. Oh, that figure is difficult to pin down because there are different circuits, and different circuits in one. Can you believe it? In one court, you can get the blah, 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 blah. And so I was like, shush, excuse me. I tried to put the kibosh on it because I wanted to get a straight answer, just one from Nichole Ramos. And she said, no, that woman, Iracema Coronado, the moderator there, said, be quiet. Now, let me tell you that in the other panels I saw, people asked questions out of turn, moderators interrupted presenters in the middle of their presentations to ask questions, to give examples, to get clarifications. No one had a problem with any of it. People were filming, people were taking pictures. All of this was happening around me at every other thing happening at this conference, at this same conference. But when it came to us, we got a very, very different treatment, right? When it came to the keynote and us being in the room and us wanting to ask questions, suddenly everything changed. No one will be allowed to film. And this Dr. Emmanuel Brunet Jaili from the executive director of the Association of Borderland Studies says no one's going to be allowed to film. Remember, this is something that has been a common practice, especially at keynote events, especially. And nobody is told, oh, you can't do that. But for some reason, at this event, and the reason is, folks, I'll tell you what the reason is. The reason is they tried to avoid telling us the reason because they didn't want it to get out that Nichole Ramos is not transparent, that Nichole Ramos is a person that it appears she has the confidence and the skills and the backing and the reputation to go along with all of the spotlight on her, such that she could answer your questions. She could be straight with you. She could be transparent. She doesn't wilt under a spotlight if you put one on her and say, hey, answer these hard questions. Tell us what you think about this. She can't handle that in truth. She can't handle a difficult question. And they keep her in a bubble of protection to ensure that no one scratches the surface, because if you scratch the surface, just below it is a bunch of problematic, very, very problematic relationships and activities. Al Otro Lados and those of Pueblos Sin Fronteras and many of the organizations associated with Al Otro Lado. If you just scratch, and all you have to do is ask her a pointed question. that she should be proud to answer. Well, we are helping this many million migrants, and all of these people are going to get asylum. It's going to be great. Here's my stats. Here's our success rate. We're amazeballs. Why isn't she happy to answer those questions? Why wouldn't she be happy to answer those questions at a public forum for the Association of Borderland Studies, where, according to the people that organized it and the executives, they allowed the press to come and ask questions? So it would look real strange if all of a sudden the keynote speaker was like, I refuse to do any interviews, answer follow-up questions, take direct questions from the audience, or allow anyone to film or live stream any of this. Really? Because then people would go, there is something fishy here. Remember when Hillary Clinton held a closed-door meeting with some financial institution, and they refused to have anybody film or anything like that?
Yeah.
How does that look?
Sneaky.
Sneaky. It looks sneaky because it is sneaky, and it's sneaky of the people putting on the event that know that no one ever has done it before, to not question it and go, we don't know why, but this person is not proud of their work. They're not proud to tell the public about it. They're not proud to answer any questions. In fact, they refuse to answer questions, and they refuse to give interviews. She was marauding around the building for quite a while because you and I went, had a cigarette, went to the bathrooms, and she was just about to leave.
Yep.
I left there, and this is after the altercation with Mr. Larry Gould, who practically pushed Amy and Melinda Oporto out and threatened to call the police on them because they came and asked a question. And that question, by the way, that question that Amy asked of Nichole Ramos was this: are you practicing law in Mexico without a license? Do you have the right to work in Mexico and practice law in Mexico? And she said, Duke, tell him what she said. Tell him it.
Oh, she said no. I'm not practicing law in Mexico. We're only doing education, know your rights education. And then she said, well, are you licensed in California? No, I'm licensed in New York, and but it's immigration is federal, and I can practice that anywhere. And so
it's true.
And she re-clarified and didn't get yelled at like Cindy did when she re-clarified the question. So you're not licensed to practice law in Mexico. Nope, and I don't practice law in Mexico. I only do that in the United States. That's what she said.
Okay. Note, when me only, try to clarify my question, when she tried to go on a tangent and manipulate statistics so that she could answer that the number of people that will actually gain asylum is unknowable, I was like, no, there's numbers. You know them. Let's account for what you're talking about. Answer the question, please. And this woman shouted at me. This woman, how did she shout at me, Duke? She was rude. Was it rude, or was it my perception?
Said, you can't talk. You can't talk. She's talking. You can't talk. And she pointed at you. And you said, oh, hold it. She's answering my question. And I want to clarify what the question was. And then you just kept on going, and then she backed off. So she basically said, you can't talk.
But during the first part of me saying that, hold on, I'm just she's answering my question. She kept saying, no, she's talking. You can't interrupt her. She kept doing that. And when she saw that I was still going to finish, she backed off. But what I saw and what everyone else in that room saw, what Amy saw, what Melinda saw, what Guadalupe saw, what all of the other people saw was how reactionary, how hostile, without reason. I had never seen this woman before in my life. She was to me, and exclusively to me, and only to me, to the exclusion of everyone else. I think it embarrassed her a little bit that she went "Rah-rah-rah," on me, because when Amy spoke, she had lost her attack.
Yeah.
She was like, I better not try to look like a crazy person again. Just sit here and these people aren't doing anything wrong. Let them ask a question. Why are we being so hostile again?
Yeah. Forgot.
I don't know. Anyway. This is Nichole Ramos and Dulce. I asked if I was able to take this picture. I asked Guadalupe, we're not filming. Can I at least take a picture? Yes. Go ahead, she said. So I did. And this is, as you know, where we went afterwards. And I mean right afterwards. Actually, I drove to the Rapid Response Network. I'm going to tell you more about that later. I'm going to fill in some of the blanks of what happened. Like I said, this is the first of many installments and reports we're going to be covering on this topic. Okay? We were at the conference. We asked these important questions about her work in Mexico. And I intended to cross the border into Mexico and research right after that. So off to the border we went. First, I went to the San Diego Rapid Response Network shelter. I checked that out. I'll be bringing you a little report on what happened there later. But know that right after I left the Association of Borderland Studies conference, after the keynote speech by Nichole Ramos, after I got to ask her one question and one question only, I made it into a two-parter, as you know. She did answer the second one. When I said, what responsibility do you and Border Angels and other organizations that you work with have to do follow-up with all of these people you are bringing here to seek asylum? We don't track them, she said.
Yep.
Not my job.
They're on their own.
Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
I left, and we went across the border. We went across the border to Tijuana right away. Oscar picked us up. It was great. Oscar was great. Oscar took us. How many shelters did he take us to do?
Oh, it's like
8, 9.
Yeah, 8 or 9.
10. I don't know anymore.
That's right. There's another one. There's another one. He had information on all of them. You know.
Oh my God, this guy is a workhorse. Just like, Sydney, this, that. And literally, like, we jumped in the car and we started, here's the shelter, this one, here's this, and I'll bring you all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna break down all the things that happened when we were out in Tijuana, piece by piece. I want to just get to some of the crazy nonsense with Nichole Ramos and Otro Lado, because you gotta know what she did. So, she was the one that requested that there would be no filming and that there would be no questions and that there would be no interview. Mm-hmm. That's who decided all of that, which happened at the Borderland Studies things. Because they wanted to cover for her. They didn't give us a straight story about why we weren't allowed to ask questions. But that's the truth. So if you're just joining us, this is a Mexican Crossing Lines with Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves, and we are bringing you a report from our week-long visit to San Diego and to Tijuana, Mexico. Mm-hmm. We went to the Association of Borderland Studies conference. We did a lot of work in advance of it.
That's right.
Months of work. Some of you know how much pain my arm was on because I was doing double duty work just so that we could get everything ready for a presentation that got cut off, that was buried, that I delivered with a rock in the pit of my stomach because of the way that this man treated my partner, my presenting partner. and former president of this association, like she was nothing. And we are telling you what really went down. Those two women that went there to ask a simple question were treated pretty badly for no good reason. People acted very hostile. People acted very jumpy. People acted very paranoid, and really unnecessarily so. I can't fathom what their problem was.
Yep.
Don't understand it still. Then we left. We went to Mexico. We did a bunch of coverage on the very first day that we showed up. I'm going to be bringing you some more of that coverage in a minute. Just here in a minute, I'm going to tell the story a little bit out of order because I want to get to my point, which is that the first day that I got there, I told Oscar, I have to go to the Agape shelter because I told the pastor I would be coming to see him first. The morning I got up when I was going to the conference to do my presentation, I told the pastor, I'm coming to see you today. I'll be there this afternoon. Are you going to be available? He said yes. Okay? And I like to keep my word. I said I was going to do it, so I wanted to make sure I did that. And Oscar had a bunch of different things he wanted to show me, and I'm like, I want to do all of those things, but we only have a day and a half now because I spent half of my day going to the ABS keynote speech where I was only allowed to ask one question and not even allowed to film. As a member of the press. Yeah. So instead, where did I go? I had, to run basically and do all of these things. Amazingly, we did 7, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we did 7 interviews at the shelter. How much time did we spend recording at the shelter, Duke? How many hours?
Which one?
Agape, the first day.
I haven't had all of it. We have hours and hours now. I think I counted 8 or 9 interviews the first day. And these are long interviews. This is Cindy taking her time to basically get to know people and to talk with them and try to find a spot where it's not. And those are all a few pictures, but they're all audio interviews. It's just not a camera in their face. Although Oscar did do some filming.
Oscar live streamed.
He live streamed, but we did a lot of audio interviews, and they're all in Spanish. So you're going to have to be patient with translating, and you're hearing directly from the people. Yeah, that's we've been talking about. We've been talking about a movement that's led by the people, and then the people, incredible stories. You just wait. You wait till we can tell you that stuff in our upcoming shows.
Well, I'm going to tell a little bit of it tonight, because it's relevant to what I'm talking about here. But so we go over to the Agape shelter. We're doing all of these interviews, right? And I'll tell you one of the most important interviews pertaining to what Nichole Ramos told us about how she doesn't do legal work. In fact, one of the things that she said, by the way, when she responded to that question was that you said she only does humanitarian training. That part you remembered, dude.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the part you forgot was that she said that they only make people their clients once they're in the U.S.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that now.
They only take them on as clients once they're in the U.S. of A. Okay? And that's obviously not true. I'm going to show you that today. But that's what she said. Maybe that's why she didn't want to be recorded, because she didn't want anyone to be able to prove that she's a liar and that she lies to people in America, at conferences, to academics, to who knows, probably to other lawyers groups like she did when she went to Yale. Who knows what she's telling them? But what they are doing is far, far from giving human rights trainings. Very, very far from that. They're doing fake marriages. They're getting involved with smuggling, helping people get smuggled into the United States. they are working with very closely with people that are that were involved with the kidnapping of a child from the Agape shelter. I've told you all of these things before.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we went, this photo, in fact, of us was taken right down the street in the street where the arch is. It's a pretty well-known street there. One street over from where we took this picture is Enclave Caracol. Now, you've heard me talk about Enclave Caracol a lot. This is the back of the building. This is the Food Not Bombs. This is the Enclave Caracol. This is the spot. This is the place where they do these human rights trainings that Nichole Ramos said that they do. This is also where they give legal advice to people. This is also where they have a clinic. This is also the place where they have their meetings, where they hold press conferences. And it's a place that I had noticed that the activists were very commonly at. I didn't understand until I went to Tijuana and talked to some of the migrants at the Agape shelter that this is a base of operation for Al Otro Lado. That this is a hub and a base of operation for many organizations, but primarily Al Otro Lado. That Al Otro Lado doesn't just do their legal work and their trainings out of there. They basically manage it. This is what one of the migrants told me. That she and another guy, whose name he told me on the recording of my interview with him, were the ones that basically ran that building. And what did I do when we got there? What was the breakdown of what we did when we got there? Did we go in Clave Caracol? Did we go inside?
No.
What happened?
We went outside and across the street, and there was some people. Oscar was saying he had never been there. He didn't have the directions for the place. He didn't know where it was, and he found out from somebody. And then we walked in, and there was a family sitting in front of across the street. A family sitting in front of a garage door and a little shop, and another guy standing over here. And Oscar and Cindy went and introduced themselves and just said, is that the place? And they're like, yeah, that's the place. And then they just started talking, just started visiting. And Cindy started talking to this young man, and he was totally willing to talk to her. And Oscar was talking with the woman and her child, and another man was there, and just carrying on conversations, asking questions, and people were totally willing to give information from their experience. So it was, very calm. It was a nice sunny day. The street wasn't very crowded. Hardly any people were on the street. A few people walking by and a few people hauling stuff back and forth. But very, very calm, and conversing out on the street in the sun, pretty much. And
at one point, I turned around. I looked around me because I noticed there was movement. Oscar was talking to a group of about 3 or 4 people, mostly 2 of the women in the group, migrants from the caravan, who he said had gotten services from Al Otro Lado. He was talking to them. I was talking to a 21-year-old kid, and from Honduras. And he had a very, very quiet voice, didn't he, Duke? He was very, very, very quiet voice. That kid and I were talking, and I had my back to the building during my interviewing him. So I wasn't even looking in the direction of this building. I notice that all of a sudden Oscar is not talking to this family anymore. He's going down the street about, like he was going across a corner, basically. Stood on the other, stood over there, far away from me.
Yeah.
A good distance. Like a distance of crossing the street, basically. Even though it was just down the same street there where we were. And started live streaming and pointing his camera at the building. So I turn around and look at the building, and I realize there's a dude at the door at the bottom that is pointing a camera at me, while I'm talking to the migrant.
Yeah.
And if you could point out that door at the bottom, it's behind the comments there, but you can see there's a door. And that is where I noticed that somebody was pointing a camera at me. And I didn't really focus too long on that. I just kind of noticed that was happening. And then when I was done, Oscar came over, still talking on his live stream, and asked me what, the migrant had said. And then I talked about that on his live stream. Well, you guys saw it, okay? I don't have to regurgitate the whole thing.
Exactly.
Point thing is, then we went somewhere else. Oh, we went to Little Haiti.
Yep.
So we get to Little Haiti. By the way, let me read that comment on that live stream real quick, because I thought that was interesting. If you scroll down a little bit there, you'll see there is a comment on this live stream. A woman named Victoria says in Spanish, I ask myself why no one has reported them. She's talking about Otro Lado, or the volunteers inside of Enclave Caracol working with them. I wonder why no one has reported them if everyone knows what they're doing in Tijuana. Those of you in Tijuana should be reporting them. We should not allow this to happen in our country. That's what a Mexican said about what these groups are doing in Mexico. That's the voice that isn't getting heard. People like Nichole Ramos and even some of these people who defended her at the Borderland Conference are committing lateral violence to silence the voices of the people most affected by this issue, the people in Mexico and Mexicans. That's what's happening. And Nichole Ramos is one of the cheerleaders of doing that. After we as we arrived at the next place, which was Little Haiti, and we'll be bringing you a whole coverage of what happened there, Oscar gets a message, and it's from Nichole Ramos. In the time that it took us to drive, to leave, to drive over there, Nichole Ramos was already messaging a harassing text to Oscar saying, I believe you're looking for me. She has a vivid imagination.
Yeah, really. We didn't know she was there.
No, but I thought, I said to Oscar, I said, oh, I bet she was there because she just said, I believe you're looking for me. And it happened right after we left.
One thing you didn't mention is that when Oscar started, people started filming you and Oscar. And what happened is that as soon as Oscar whipped out his camera and started live streaming, you couldn't see very well in the building because it's very dark glass. But you could see people running up the stairs, people running all the way to the top of the building, people whipping out very big walkie-talkies, whipping out computers, whipping out cameras, standing at the windows. It looked like they thought they were being raided. And I thought, what's going on? I'm like, are these people going to come out and we're going to have a confrontation? So I just stood there and said, okay, well, be ready for anything. We're not really doing anything. We're talking to some people here. We haven't even been close to their doorway. And Oscar is live streaming. They started going nuts. They started like running around, and I don't know what they were, if they were shredding paper, if they were burning boxes, if they were hiding people. I have no idea. But that activity was whipping around. I thought, wow. And then, later I said to Oscar, I said, I don't know if people are going to come out. We're going to get in a confrontation. He said, these people are cowards. They're not going to come out and do anything. He said, but he was just live streaming saying, what are you doing in there? What are you doing? And, so that in the context was really important to know. So.
But you know why they do that, Duke? Do you know why they do that nonsense? Because they do that so that they can go, oh, they're after us. They're doing things. They're hurting us.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, folks, she sent something. I don't know because I haven't seen it yet. I've been waiting to see what exactly it was that she felt was on this live stream that was a threat from me. But she said that I went to Tijuana to harass her. Me, Cindy Gomez-Schempp. It doesn't seem like that from the context of this text message where she contacted Oscar. We went to Enclave Caracol, a vegan restaurant that's free, where they serve free food to people that are poor and that are migrants, but also to all of the activists, lawyers, and doctors and other people that are working with Al Otro Lado, which are manipulating these and exploiting these people in the caravan. And it is a hub of the work for Al Otro Lado. It is, according to the migrant I spoke to, that said that she and this other guy named Daniel or David, I can't remember exactly which one it was. I have to listen to the recording, okay? So I'm not positive. I talked to so many people. I got so much information. I'm just glad that I recorded my interviews so that I can go back and find out what happened. And we were so exhausted.
Yep. We
were exhausted. We're like jet lag and running around and I'm old, y'all. It's hard.
Yeah.
Our place we were staying had how many stairs, Duke?
37.
It was difficult. So she said, I went to Tijuana to harass her. I went to Tijuana to do my damn job. I went to Tijuana to investigate and to report back to you, my audience, what's happening in Tijuana. And when I went there, I went to the different places that I wanted to investigate further, to talk to migrants that are living there, that are the recipients, I guess, if you will, of the legal advice, the coaching, the whatever you want to call what Al Otro Lado is doing, and many of these Border Support Network groups with the caravan. That's what I went to do. And one of the places that I know is the hub of distribution, of donations, of these phony marriages, of press conferences being held, of organizing happening, of them having a clinic, and all of the above is Enclave Caracol. That's the spot. I was not going to go to Tijuana and not go and see this building and check out the size, what it can do, what they can do in it, how many people are coming and going, and how many migrants I can find that are actually getting helped. It was like finding a needle in a haystack. They're taking in millions of dollars for their clients, the migrants, but you can't hardly find nobody that'll say they're actually getting represented by them. You can't hardly. They got the people that went across the border to request asylum from the Agape shelter that I interviewed, got a packet. I will be bringing you the pages from that packet so you could see the packet for yourself. I took pictures of it. 3 of the pages, front and back, I believe, have the names of all of these different legal associations that migrants can get assistance from in requesting their asylum. All of the migrants told me none of the numbers on that list answer the phone. All of those organizations are raising money to help these migrants. None of the migrants can get a hold of these organizations. None of the ones I talked to anyway. And furthermore, Al Otro Lado's not even on it. They're not even on the list, and they're the ones that are getting the most money and giving the most legal advice, according to everyone I spoke to.
Yep.
Go figure. Go figure. But here's the really interesting thing. She texts Oscar, and she assumed he was looking for her. You ain't that important. But she wanted to make herself the victim, folks. That's what these people do best. Oh, they were out there harassing me. No, we're doing our jobs. You're projecting because that's what you do to people. You harass, silence, and threaten anyone that poses a threat to your blatant, fraudulent, and criminal behavior that no one is holding you accountable to. That is what makes you uncomfortable. And so you perceive anybody doing investigative work, investigating you or the activities of your allies and colleagues as a threat, because that's what I was doing. I was interviewing a migrant that you refused to help at the time that you claimed I was harassing you. And who was it? Pick someone. Was it Oscar that was harassing you? Or was it I that was harassing you?
Was it me?
Or was it Duke? Who are you going to blame now? Let's see. So this is what she said to Oscar. Remember, she contacted him, but then accused him of harassing her in the same text. I believe you're looking for me, she says. Instead of harassing my volunteers, perhaps you should schedule an appointment to speak with me. I don't know how responsive she'll be. I asked her for an interview in front of everyone right after she gave her keynote, and she said, I don't have time. I said, I'll just ask a few questions. It'll be 5 minutes or less. I'm sorry. I still don't have time. And then she waited around the conference, banged around from here to there. Like I said, we went outside, had a cigarette, came inside, went to the bathroom, and ran into her as she left. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the second part of these texts. He responds. First, there was an auto response from his moderators, and then he responded as we were literally going in. So he was very curt because we were walking on very unsolid ground where we were.
Yeah, it's a Little Haiti shelter.
Yeah, Little Haiti. He's like, let me have your number. He's like, okay, let me respond to her. Then I think he was going to just give her a ring, maybe. And he says, when he had a chance to actually message her, first of all, for me to harass someone, there needs to be an action and a reaction. Never had contact with one of your workers. Second of all, I'm a Mexican citizen born and raised in Tijuana, so I can exercise my right in my own country to record and do coverage in a public place. Just remember Article 33 of the Mexican Constitution. As a lawyer, you should know that. Just for you to know, it's a public place, and I'm exercising my freedom of speech. And I am Mexican, as you claim to be too. Nobody harassed none of your workers. I have evidence. They were the ones who started recording first. I am in Mexico. It is more my country than it is your so-called workers or volunteers. I am only exercising my constitutional right, and no thank you. I will answer you in the most professional way because you're a lady. And if you want to talk to me, make an appointment. Thank you, and God bless you. Yeah, you make an appointment to talk to me. You're the one messaging me, Nichole Ramos, he says.
Yeah.
And she responds. She says, as a Mexican citizen, you should then be aware of criminal laws against harassment and civil penalties for defamation. Threat much, Nichole Ramos? And then she goes on. I have no need to make an appointment with you. You're the one talking to him on Messenger. You're the one that reached out to him. I have no need to make an appointment with you because you are a person without education. Right to the insults.
Yeah, okay.
But one rather in need of an education. And as a proud Mexican, so she's like, I am educated unlike you. Wow, what a snob.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You're an uneducated Mexican. Wow. Mm-hmm. What a racist, laterally abusive, laterally oppressive thing. And remember, she's talking to a Mexican. And I believe that she was in that building, not just because she said, I believe you were looking for me when we just left that building, but also because she then went on to say, I went to Mexico, to Tijuana, to harass her.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how can I harass someone that's not even in Tijuana? She must have been there.
You never saw her.
I never saw her, but she had to have been there. She's given that away. She's given that much away. So now she's harping at a Mexican while she's in Mexico, sitting in Mexico, and telling him condescendingly, "You stupid, uneducated Mexican. I don't have to reach out to you, even though you are. You're the one messaging him. You're the one talking to him. And he just told you, why don't you make an appointment?"
Yeah.
And she says, "And as a proud Mexican citizen, you should know what the U.S. government does to your fellow citizens when they seek asylum. We don't seek asylum, Nichole. Mexicans are not allowed to seek asylum. That doesn't happen. It happens very rarely, and when it does, almost all of the time, they are denied asylum. Mexicans aren't allowed even to request asylum in most cases. In most cases. I know this. I work with immigration attorneys. How do you not know that? How do you not know that? How can you call yourself an immigration attorney and know that Mexicans, by and large, are never given the right to request asylum? Why are you acting like you care about or are helping Mexicans as you berate a Mexican, as you laterally oppress and censor this Mexican, as you attack Mexicans? What a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
I am the Mexican helper, you stupid Mexican. She's so... And then she goes on. Do you know? You should know what the government does to your fellow citizens when they seek asylum, including separating parents from their children. Or do you not believe your fellow citizens have the right to information about their rights and the horrors awaiting them in immigration detention? Except that's not all you do, Nichole. You don't just give people human rights trainings. I'll show everyone in just a moment that you don't just do that. She says, oh, this is what Oscar responded. 60 million Mexicans in poverty, 28 million in critical condition because of this caravan. Our women are getting raped in Chiapas. Police officers are getting hurt. Children are being trafficked. Fake families are being built. Fake marriages are being done. And in our country, Mexico is suffering. Our children are suffering. They are invading our borders. You should educate yourself on the International Immigration Pact. First, it's Mexico. First is the people of Tijuana. With your disrespectful response, you just demonstrated the level of education that you have. So if you care about your country, Mexico, you should remember this phrase, always your country first. Prefiero morir de pie que vivir una vida de rodillas. It was a pleasure talking to you. And please take care of yourself, because first is Mexico and Mexico is for Mexicans. Everybody else is welcome, but please migrate correctly, like the International Immigration Pact says. Migrate documented, peacefully, and with a purpose. It wouldn't take a blind man to see how this caravan is damaging the sovereignty of Mexico. Take care, Nichole. It's been a pleasure.
See ya, wouldn't want to be ya.
That's what he said to her.
Mm-hmm.
What happened after that? Well, I told you. She went and said, I went to TJ just to harass her. What is all of this clamoring and crying about? Why was she freaking out when I started talking to migrants outside of that building? Why would she have such a problem having me in Tijuana or at this conference to ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
to ask questions? Well, because look at what I found at the shelter. This is one of the interviews I did over at the shelter. Pastor Albert is out front there. This is his shelter. Behind him, the Agape shelter. Okay. Sorry. I needed a little bit of sugar. This is a legal contract. You want to read what it says at the top there, Duke? What's that emblem?
It's Otro Lado's logo.
It's Al Otro Lado's logo. That's the lawyers that Nichole Ramos the organization she helped to found. Okay? This is the organization Nichole Ramos helped to start. What does it say at the top there? I know it's in Spanish, Duke, but I can tell.
Contrato para consulta legal.
Yeah, what do you think that means?
Oh,
contract?
Contract to consult legal.
Contract?
Legal contract.
For legal services?
Yeah.
Consultation, legal services. What does it say? What does it say in the next word? Services. What is the service?
Consult.
A legal consult. That's the service you get. What do you get? You get legal services. What kind of services? Legal. What's the next thing say? Well, it has the signature of the person, which we have blocked out, as you can see. And it says, so-and-so designated from here on out as the client. What?
Yeah.
I thought Nichole Ramos said she didn't get no clients. Her organization didn't sign up clients in Mexico because they don't practice the law there. They only practice the law. They only sign them up once they're in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is this then? How is that dude a client? Y'all can see that it says el cliente, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you read that?
Yep.
I don't care if you don't speak Spanish. This is black and white, easy to understand. Contrato, contract.
Mm-hmm.
Consulta, consult. Legal, legal.
Yep.
Al otro lado, logo.
Mm-hmm.
Servicio, service. Come on, guys. Anybody can understand what this says. What does it say at the bottom? El cliente, the client, contracts with Al Otro Lado Inc. for legal consultation.
Mm-hmm.
What does that say? Underlined and in bold?
Legal consultation.
Legal consultation. Does that say human rights training there, Duke?
Nope, it doesn't.
I'm squinting. I've got my glasses on. But I want to make sure I am not incorrect. Because, and there were many witnesses, Duke, Guadalupe, Amy, Melinda, lots of witnesses that heard this woman lie. We don't do anything but know your rights training in Mexico. We are not authorized, and we don't do it. Lie, 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 lie. What does it say with the cost? Number 2. What does it say? No habrá costo. You know what that means?
No
there
cost.
will be no charges for the services mentioned above. Let me tell you. Folks, let me tell you. I talked to some people, and I told them about this. I showed them what I found. I said to a migrant, look, I'm like, why aren't you getting the help from the Al Otro Lado people? Because it costs too much money. I said, excuse me? It costs too much money? What do you mean it costs too much money? It's free. It's pro bono. Nichole Ramos runs around telling people she got a 20-year-old car and shoes with holes in them. This is a free service. What do you mean it costs too much money? Oh, only the first time it's free, she said. Only the first time. After that, they want $5,000. I said, what? $5,000? Yeah. And by then, like, you're stranded. What are you going to do? These people go all the way down to Central America. They go down all the way to the southern border with Mexico. They meet up with caravans and they tell folks, hey, if you want free legal services, come to TJ. Our offices are right over there across the border in the United States. We're called Al Otro Lado. Come and we will give you free legal services. But once you get all the way up to Tijuana, the farthest travel from the southern border you can go, they go, oops, $5,000, please. Meanwhile, at the same time, they're raising millions of dollars to give pro bono legal services. Are you guys smelling a scam? I am. Anyway, go back to the contract, Duke. Let's go through this contract. Limitations of the contract. El cliente entiende que la consulta legal es solamente para recomendación, consejos y no incluye representación de ninguna clase de ningún otro servicio. Además, este contrato es para una sola consulta y no da derecho a consejo legal en el futuro. This client understands that this legal consultation is only to give recommendations or legal advice and does not include representation of any kind or any other type of service. In fact, this contract is just for this one consultation, and it doesn't give you a right to any future legal advice. B, the client understands that they could be different legal options, legitimate legal options, acerca de la misma situación, for the same situation, y que la opinión del al otro lado puede variar de otros abogados, and that the opinion given to you, the legal advice given to you by al otro lado, could vary from other attorneys' opinions. El cliente está libre de conseguir opiniones legales adicionales si desea hacerlo. The client is free to get other legal opinions if they so wish. And C, el cliente ha dado o dará información correcta sobre su dirección actual, número de teléfono y otros medios por los cuales al otro lado puede comunicar cuando es necesario. The client will give us their correct and proper address and telephone number, and other means by which al otro lado can communicate with them when it's necessary. El cliente entiende que es su responsabilidad proveer información verdadera acerca de su caso al representante del otro lado. Client understands it is their responsibility to provide proper and correct information about their case to the representative of al otro lado. Al proveer información falsa o no proveer toda la información o documentos requeridos, al otro lado Inc. no tendrá la obligación de completar la consulta legal. Providing false information or not providing all the information or documents required to al otro lado Inc. Means we will not have the obligation to complete our legal consultation with you. And then finally, it talks about confidentiality. Al otro lado, which is a legal organization that respects the rights of confidentiality of each and every single client, that seeks our legal assistance and services here. Al otro lado cannot provide any information about its clients to any other person or entity without the prior consent of our clients. And then the client signs. And then at the bottom, a representative of al otro lado signs. It appears that name is Guy Jurpal. What do you think the last name is?
I can't read it. I can't hardly see.
Jurpal, it looks like, is the name. Maybe from India? I have no idea. Anyway, let me know what you think that name says. I don't know. Next, I want to show you the intake. This is the pin they give for your file with your file number on it. And it says you go to that website at the top and type in your pin and boom. Next. Go to the next one, honey. Then it says here you can access photos of your documents with the information on this card. Enter the address at the top of the card in a search bar and it will ask you for your record number, birth date, and PIN number. Share all of this information on this card with someone you trust so that you can access. I will have to wait a moment, please, so that you can access it if you need it. Before crossing the border, destroy this card.
Oh my God.
Dun, 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 dun.
It's Mission Impossible.
Destroy your car, destroy your
Wow.
car, destroy your car, destroy.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you need to destroy your card?
So it has no evidence that they're coaching you.
What?
That they're telling you what to say, telling you what to do. You know,
That's what you saw.
bizarre.
Did you see that?
That's bizarre. I hadn't seen this material before
Yes, I
tonight's
know.
show. I'm like, what? Destroy this.
Destroy
this
this
before you
card.
cross the border because you
Okay.
don't want it on you.
Folks, I want to tell you what is behind. I want us to understand what is behind all of this. You're harassing us and they're harassing us and then this is happening when it's not happening. And why all these people are acting hella defensive like we're going to attack them, shutting us down, censoring us, and making themselves out to be the victims. Because it's been going on for a while. And it's all part of an orchestrated plan to shut people down and to target them.